Hello po, magandang gabi. Good evening, everyone. I'll try to speak in English this evening because there might be some people who don't speak Tagalog. But you can ask me in Tagalog if you want me to answer you in Tagalog, or you can ask me in French if you want to talk to me, answer in French. Do you hear me? Can someone make a comment if they hear me? Yeah?
Can someone make a comment if
Yeah,
they hear
yeah,
me?
yeah. I can hear it. I check on my other Facebook. No one's watching then. Okay, I'll take that comments out. And then we're going to start now. So, thank you for coming. And today we've got some exciting news from the world of immigration. The Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship just announced some major changes to the caregiver pilot programs. So, let's dive in and break this down. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. The immigration system is always evolving. What we're talking about today is general information about the caregiving program. So if you have specific cases or questions, you need to sign an initial consultation agreement because we have to follow the professional code of ethics of the RCAC. Now let's get into it. So the big news is that the current home child care provider pilot and the home support worker pilot are being replaced. These new programs are a game changer because they offer immediate permanent residency or PR upon arrival. That's right. No more waiting around for 12 months to get your PR. This is a huge shift in Canada's approach to bringing in caregivers and helping them settle in the workforce. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts of these new programs. There are three main features you need to know about. First is the permanent residency on arrival. As soon as caregivers land in Canada, they get their PR. This is a massive upgrade from the old system where you had to work for a year before even being eligible to apply. Second, employment flexibility. Caregivers can now work for organizations that provide temporary or part time care. This means more job opportunities and flexibility to find the right fit. So let's talk eligibility criteria. Sorry. To qualify, you need a minimum level 4 on the Canadian Language Benchmark, CLB, the equivalent of a Canadian high school diploma, recent relevant work experience, and a full time home care job offer. And so now let's compare these new pilots with the old ones. The difference are pretty striking. With the educational requirements, the old programs, you needed at least 1 year of post secondary education. With the new program, now you just need the equivalent of a Canadian high school diploma and much more accessible, right? For the work experience, in the old program, you had to clock in 12 months of relevant work experience in Canada. With the new program, your overseas work experience counts. This cuts down on waiting time and uncertainty. Third, permanent residency status. With the old program, a long winding road before you could apply for PR. And with a new program, PR is granted as soon as you arrive, immediate security and stability for you and your family. And for the fourth, the employment flexibility. With the old program, very limited roles and with lots of conditions. And with a new program, you can take on a wider range of caregiving roles, including temporary and part time jobs. So let's talk with the benefits of these new pilots. Let's have some clear advantages. With the immediate stability, getting PR on arrival means you and your family can settle in and start your new life right away. And with the increased accessibility, lower educational requirements, and recognizing overseas experience, open the doors for many more caregivers. And the third, employment flexibility. More job options mean you can find work that suits your skills and preference. And for the fourth, the streamlined process, the new pathway simplifies everything and maybe reducing the bureaucracy and waiting times. So the risk of with this new caregiver pilot programs are expected to be incredibly popular, and we might see some adjustments down the line as the government fine tunes the rule. So it means that this is not finished yet. It's just started, and we still are going to have many announcement to come. So that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to write it down, give some comments, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'm on YouTube, so maybe it's better you go on YouTube if you cannot comment from there. Just a little bit of history. Last June 18, 2024, the following changes were made to the instructions for officers to refuse to process work permits for caregivers, where the LMIA application was received under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. First, the new ministerial instructions were issued on June 18, 2024, instructing officers to refuse to process work permit applications received under the Temporary Foreign Workers Program for caregiver occupations in specific circumstances. The PDIs were revised to clarify who is subject to the refusal to process, how to process applications submitted before or after entry or upon entry. The instructions on determining the date of receipt for an LMIA were removed. So, with the updated instruction, if you want me to discuss that, let's go. I'll show you. I'll show you the updated instruction on refusal. So maybe someone would ask me about the tourist visa. Will they be able to apply for a caregiver? Refusal to process work permit. Yeah, this one. Share. Here you go. This is the. This was issued on June 18, 2024. The refusal to process. I don't know if I'm showing this. Yeah, okay. It's the refusal to process work permit applications for caregivers who were where the LMIA application was received under the TFWP program. So we're talking about applicants who were already here and then they found an employer and the employer has to apply for LMIA to be eligible to hire a temporary foreign worker or a caregiver. And so they made an amendment, and it says here that instruct officer to refuse to process work permit application received under the TFWP for caregiver occupations in specific circumstances. So what are those circumstances? Let's go down here. Officer must not process application for new work permits made by foreign nationals under subparagraph 200 with the if all of 200 of the Immigration and Refugee Regulations or IRPR Part 1 for the applicant submitted at a port of entry. So this means you cannot go to the port of entry anymore to have your work permit. And the applicant intends to engage in a work that's described under National Occupation 44-100. So what is the occupation 44-100? That's the NOC code. It's the home child care provider and 44-100-01. But for those who applied before or after entry to Canada, the applicant is making a work permit applicants before entry to Canada or after entry to Canada of the Immigration and Refugee Protections Regulations. The applicant is making a new work permit applications. The applicant intends to engage in a work as described in the NOC 44-100 and 44-101, and the applicant is destined for a job location outside Canada. Okay, these are the refusal. So please don't go to the port of entry. And those who are under tourist visa and who would like to apply as caregiver in outside of Quebec, you will be refused. So there's another, they repeat this again, that all applicants who are outside Canada, this rule does not apply to applicants who are destined to work in Quebec. So only in the province of Quebec that people who under tourist visa or caregivers wants to be, or students that can work in Quebec, and all applicants who submit their LMIA required work permit at the port, including applicants who work destined to work in Quebec. Oh, and all visitors who are in Canada, except Quebec. Nakakalito na, no? So, in summary, only those who would apply for caregivers in Quebec are allowed, and the rest will be refused. I got some message here. Okay. So, any question po for this matter? You can just raise a comment in the section. About we could go back to the, no, not the video file. Let me share another clarification for everyone. Percent, stop screen, not invite. Share screen. Let's see with the home childcare pilots. Okay, let's go back to the changes. Here you go. New changes to the pilots. This is from 12 months to 6 months, but there is an exception to this rule. If you live in the province of Quebec and you apply and you only have 6 months, then you have to show that you'll be working outside of Quebec. Here we go. Accept work experience gained up to 36 months before the residency. Just clarification po, we still don't have any instructions from the government on how things are going to go with this modifications. They just sent a lot of modification right now, but there's still no rules on how to apply from outside. But the rules on the TFWP is still existing. So, for example, if you're working as a caregiver from Hong Kong and then you wanted to come here in Canada, you can apply under the TFWP, or the Temporary Foreign Workers Program. That means an employer will apply for LMIA, and they will be your employer, and then they will hire you as your caregiver, and then you will come here temporarily. And once you come here, then you will apply for a caregiver, for the permanent residency from here in Canada. So just an example, here in Quebec, a lot of caregivers would come here, and then they are temporary foreign workers. And then once they complete that 6 months, right now, before it's 12 months, once they complete the 6 months, then they will just have to apply for the permanent residency. And once they apply for that permanent residency, they just have to show to the officer that they have to go out of the province. But in other provinces, it's still not allowed with the temporary foreign workers program. It's only in Quebec that you could come in that program. So they still haven't changed that policy. So anything else? Okay, the CLB4 language, it should be CLB4 on all levels. It should be reading, writing, speaking, and reading, writing, speaking, listening. It should be CLB4. Maybe there was a confusion last time. One of my clients said, well, it's still CLB5. It's because the instructions that was made last time on that CLB5 was about are addressed to those who already applied for the permanent residency. So they kept that CLB5 language, but with a new qualification, it's CLB4. I wasn't able to hear clearly about the educational attainment. What if they don't have a college education? Well, if because usually if you want to have your educational credential, you have to have it evaluated through WES or ICAS, and usually with the Philippine education background, it's like uh, you have, if for example you graduated high school, usually they evaluated that less than 2 years. So you're an undergraduate high school. So even if a caregiver finished the high school diploma in the Philippines, I suggest you take like 2 years vocational course to be able to fill up that 2 year gap. That would be a problem with the Philippine education system. It's always a problem. Like a nurse is always an undergraduate nurse because they always take out 2 years less. Did I answer your question well, Ate Redeline? Of course, alongside with that, you also have to have your immigration, your credential as caregiver, and also your experience, at least 6 months experiences from outside of the country, and you have to prove that because they'll be very very tough. They'll would like to know if it's true or not. Some say because right now, since they haven't made any instruction about how the caregivers are going to submit their application, excuse me, um, what's still working right now is the January application where they open the application and they have that draw of 1,000, 2,700 applicants. And then if they reach that, then it gets cut off and then you have to wait again for another year. So if you cannot wait for that, then you apply under the TFWP under Quebec. But of course, you still need an employer in Quebec if you want to come here and cannot wait. Okay, thank you, Ate. So I think that's the only thing that's really. Oh, and also if you would see, um, okay, with the home child care, with the new changes. Okay, I think that's about it. Anything else? I don't have any much viewers today, tonight. Seven. I got seven for this is my first time anyway, but I'll be doing this at least once a month. If there's some changes in policies, then I'll be online to discuss, and this will be recorded, and you can share it to your friends. It's to brief. For now, there's really no policy on how to apply. They just made some changes, and we're still waiting for the changes. Is it faster? There's a question. Is it faster if I go out of the country and come back for PR status? No, it's actually faster that you're already here. As I've discussed before, there were even changes to the refusal processes. You cannot even go before you can go flag polling to have your work permit. Now they're not allowed to go flag polling. So it's best to have your PR here because we still don't know the process that they're going to make if you're from outside of Canada. There's always a lot of chance when you're here in Canada than you're outside of the country, of course. So I'd rather at the Nightingale North, if the applicant is here, then I just stay here. Unless, of course, she's out of status. No problem po. Anything else? You can, Ate, you can, Ate Rodeline, you can, actually, my nose is bleeding too from speaking English because I'm already tired. Well, we can talk Tagalog. I think there's not there's no foreigner right now. You can ask me in Tagalog. It's okay. And then I'll just have it, I'll just transcribe it. Well, I suggest to those who are, for those caregivers who wanted to come here, I suggest they look for an employer because even if you're all qualified with your CLB, your language exam, and then your credentials, if you don't have the employer, then it will be hard to come here. So the key here is an employer. Okay, I'm trying to have suggestion. If you wanted to check on the more about the admissibility and the changes to the pilot, I'm going to post in a comment and then you can read more about it. And also for the home child care, for the refusal to process. Here, you should know this. So for the instruction, is there anyone who's already applied for permanent residency here? Because I'm going to give them some instruction that changed. None? I think there's none now. Okay. Okay, well, if there's none, that's it for now. Any questions about LMIA? None? Okay. Thank you for coming po, and I really appreciate it for my first podcast. And I'm gonna do some podcasts again if we'll have another changes in the caregiver program. So good night po, and enjoy your evening, and happy Canada Day.